back to ECS Season 2, second day. And we have a fourth man in the studio now. That is Mr. Halvor. How are you doing, sir?
I'm doing good. Doing great, actually. Had a pretty fulfilling meal earlier today.
Pretty fulfilling meal.
Yeah,
it was very fulfilling.
It was way too much, though. Like, I don't know. You didn't.
I thought I was back in America for a second.
Yeah, you did not warn me about the portions at all.
Yeah.
Because I had starters as well, which was a bad idea.
Yeah. We said American portions. I think that's.
It was an American food, though.
No, it wasn't.
Just size-wise, but you know, the
Size-wise,
quality was still there. So we're gonna have a quick look at the. We're gonna have a recap for yesterday's action to see what exactly happened yesterday in the first North American matches. We've kicked off with North America here. We've got Europe coming in a few days. So let's have a look. Do we have a recap?
Last night on Esports Championship Series, SK Gaming began their season 2-0 as they played 2 matches against NRG. It was NRG off to a strong start on Cobble until Furs and his trusty Mag 7 put all of NRG's momentum to a grounding halt.
We're watching the flank, which is Fugly for any shenanigans there, but oh wow, deflected for the Mag 7 in place, in position, and it's good for 3! But oh my god, phenomenal work. And a round that should not be working for SK is suddenly looking very favorable.
We used to call that knockdown Ginger. I have no idea where Ginger came from, but there we go. Fugly making his way over towards Plateau, but he will also be denied Fur with 4 kills with the Mag 7 meat shots for all creeping around. That's going to force a rotation though. Or is it? Oh! In the face again. Peter's in trouble as well. The Mag 7s will take it over the line.
SK would never look back as they remained in the driver's seat for Game 2 and put in a dominating performance in a lopsided 16-1 affair on Overpass.
B for the time being, allowing their teammates to rotate back towards A. So there will be 3 CTs in position, but no trade coming in from these players. Tack over 3K, he makes it look easy, Dan. What is that?
CTs. Expected aggression for playing the likes of SK. They have made these pushes quite known.
Well, the bomb's down. Tabson is down as well. And that should render this match finished. There it is. Peter, last one to fall once again for his team. 16-1 NRG. Well and truly got ruined by SK on that one.
It was then over to CLG and Team Liquid. Match 1 would take place on train, with CLG executing to perfection on the T side. It would be Ethan who put the final nail in Team Liquid's coffin.
And oh, they're going to go for the fake, which is very cool. Hiko's a bit ready for it though, standing on top of the train. That's a double from Hiko. Finds the 3rd player there, tapping away. Kusta can't do a single thing.
Because the bomb's on the front man as well, if he goes down, the guys behind can pick it up, which is why you don't always want to have the bomb on the last man, because if he goes down, then you've got more problems than if the first person goes down. And indeed, the bomb is going to get planted. Pure numbers game there.
Surely Ethan creeping up. Pimp, will he go for the peak? Oh, that's fantastic there from Pimp. Now he'll get the bomb plant, looking to make the ace. Creating something from nothing is Pimp, but oh no. Just has no idea where to look for the last man, and it is not to be this time around.
Dust 2 would feature in Match 2 with CLG using the momentum to push their opponents. However, a tactical pause by Liquid and several missteps by CLG would open the door for Liquid to storm back.
This is not acceptable damage to take for CLG. It's already a horrible situation, and it could get so much worse. It's getting so much worse. Oh, that's a fantastic tap there through the edge as well. Oh, aced. What a beautiful retake there. Absolute flow state there. All 3 kills, the defuse as well. CLG, he is their guardian angel.
That would be all she wrote, as CLG would fall to Team Liquid, bringing both sides up to 1-1 on the season. SK Gaming take on CLG this Saturday afternoon at 3 PM Eastern. Team Liquid and NRG are back next week as they both look to regroup against Optic and Complexity.
Those were the gorgeous sounds of Rochelle, who works for FACEIT. Some of you may have met her at some of our finals before. Maybe she'll appear on our screens one day, perhaps. So we're going to have a look at the teams. Just a reminder, again, it is only the second day of the second season. So we can see these are the teams who will be playing in Season 2. Cloud9, SK, NRG, top row. then Liquid, CLG, TSM, Luminosity, Optic Gaming, Complexity, and Immortals. So now we have 3 Brazilian sides in the second season, which is pretty interesting. Now we can look at the format and see exactly how the teams will be playing. Okay, there's no format to show in terms of an overlay, but how it works here, you see some leagues do best of 2s. We do best of 1s, but with a twist. The away team, there's a home and away system. Every team plays every other team twice. The away team vetoes 2 maps, and then the home team picks from the remaining 5. So you get a wider array of maps in that regard, so it can be quite different and quite interesting as well. Often when it goes to best of 1s, we just see people veto all the maps their opponent wants to play. So you get the map that's kind of middle ground. So maybe this creates something more interesting. So we can have a look at the leaderboard and see how the teams are doing. Again, only 4 maps have been played, really, so not much, not much to see.
Nothing really.
Really,
Right
I'm just going to waste your time, and we can have a look at all those zeros in more than half of the board. Great stuff. So, Dan, what's our first match?
Well, first, we actually have a really awesome series of games here so far. We've got Optic versus Immortals, which is it's like one of those interesting matchups because Optic obviously have had a massive. Well, I don't think anyone expected them to do quite as well as they have been doing. They picked up the Spanish. He kind of became, I don't think anyone was aware of the star quality outside of maybe the Spanish scene and in kind of tier 2 Europe. There wasn't really much focus on him, but as soon as he had the spotlight, Mixwell brought into Optic, suddenly we saw very amazing star potential from this guy, and they've been doing very well at events recently also. And Immortals, of course, used to be Games Academy type deal, the kind of feeder team. I'm just holding an apple while I was there. I was just aware that I'm holding an apple and kind of waving it around. It's great. So Immortals, a bit of a feeder team with with Fallen, generally as like the grandfather Counter-Strike. They're beneficiaries of his teachings, and you can really see that in the kind of style that they have to offer. And they've had a massive amount of results recently, and they're very dangerous all of a sudden with the likes of Henny, kind of superstar Orpa coming into play, and Phelps and so on and so forth. They have a lot of skill on that team, a lot of experience, so that they're dangerous to anyone in the top tier.
So, Dust, we've seen that Mixwell recently said he's not going to be the primary AWP. One would presume it's going to be Tarek now. And interestingly, Mixwell said that he didn't like AWPing all the time, or he would have preferred to rifle more, which is what he's going to be doing. Who knows if that's true or not, because it's very explosive, but do you have any thoughts on these changes, which are coming in quite rapidly for Optic?
I think that fits to who he is. I mean, even when he was playing in Spanish teams, he wasn't the main opera, right? He had guys like Kyrie and Lal and stuff like that who played on teams with him that would actually be the primary opera. So I think he's used to being in that position. I think you still will see it a good bit. I mean, we are going to be playing Train today, and that's a map where I think he still does actually use the op quite a lot. But when we play Overpass, you will notice that Tarek will be someone who will use it more on the terror side. And I think it's fine because he's so effective as entry fragger with a rifle. And when you have guys like Naf who are more of passive forces on the team, it's nice for Rush to have someone next to him who's going to be just as fearless as he is to open up bomb sites. And so I think that with Mixwell not having to focus on opping, you give him that capability to be a big part of the entry force and have impacts opening up rounds for his team.
Vendetta, what do you think about the recent changes? Obviously, Daps has been removed from the team. Stanislaw's come in. All the orbs are changing and so on. I mean, Optic, they've put in some good results recently, but is that a honeymoon period? Can we expect this to be consistent from them?
I actually think it is, because Optic has kind of gone the grinding route of getting good, and they haven't done it through gimmicks. Oftentimes you'll see new teams coming through in the scene. They'll surprise teams by having a certain play style that doesn't really mesh well versus, their opponents doesn't really mesh well with. And after a couple of events, that gets figured out, and all of a sudden, your lifetime as a one-trick pony is over. And then they go back to struggling, start making roster changes, and don't really get back to it. But Optic have kind of had built, a foundation in how they play, which is really solid, and that's why we're seeing them, over a longer period of time, being stable and actually putting up decent results. We saw it already, in Katowice for the major qualifiers, and it wasn't just there. So they've kind of maintained that kind of a level throughout, and I think with the addition of Tarek now and coming into the team, that gives them more firepower, which is never something you never want in a team. So I can only see them actually going up, and I really like the way they've gone about things instead of just constantly changing rosters and not having faith in the guys they bring in. So no, I really I see the future being bright for them.
What are your views and expectations on Immortals coming to this matchup?
Immortals, for me, Immortals are a bit of a question mark, simply because we see so many up and down performances from them. But I think it's stabilized a lot more ever since Suze came into that team. I think he brings a lot of veteranship and just the ability to lead an otherwise gang of kind of unruly players, because we talk about them all the time. They have a ton of star potential in all of their players, like Phelps and Henny and so on, but they need to be restrained at certain times, or they need to be put in a certain type of system that everyone's on board with for it to work consistently. And I think that Shoes has done a really good job of just making that very clear to all the players. So Immortals going into this matchup versus Optic, I think they have a very good chance. I think they're just going to do very well in general over the course of the league.
Tarek versus Henny. Where do you see this, or Mixwell? Might be 2 versus 1. Where do you see that going?
I think it's going to be really difficult for the Optic boys because we've seen Henny really just come alive. I mean, I think before he was kind of this wild card player. I always used to compare him to like JW in his heyday, where he's like this wild card guy. He kind of goes off on his own. He's like just really let loose to just be explosive with his optic. It's like a similar firing style as well, just very fast and flashy. So when he hits some cool shots, these highlight reel moments come up. But he never really had like consistent numbers. You were always relying on Bolts and Phelps to take care of that for you. Whereas ever since I saw him at Northern Arena Toronto, like just a few weeks ago, and ever since then in recent online play, he's looked so much sharper. He's a lot more consistent, and I think that Optic are going to have their hands full going up against him, especially on maps like this where the op can have such a huge impact when he's pushing up A on you and overpass, not giving you space, or we know train the long lanes, a lot of ability for Optic to take place there. So I would pick Henny to win these battles all the time.
All right, then. We will find out soon enough. The first match of the evening will be coming up soon after this short break. Dan and I will see you back here shortly.